entertaining, but the real reason why sport is entertaining is because it brings the viewer the satisfaction of knowing that this human body, just like theirs, can surpass human limits without any need for these performance-enhancing drugs.
Okay, so touching on the health aspect of what you're talking about, it's all about making a choice. Now, we're not saying you should be forced to use performance-enhancing drugs. We're saying that you should be allowed to. So we think the health aspect doesn't play into play because you make a decision. Every professional athlete who joins a team, who joins a national team, who joins a boxing club or whatever it might be, they all have to sign a contract. So it's all about choice. You make the choice and you live with your choice, whatever that choice might be. Go.
A significant portion of viewers of sports are underage individuals, so how might this incentivize them, who are still forming their perception of the world, to choose entertainment and instant gratification over their well-being and their health?
Okay, well, I want to make this clear in my my introduction that we will only allow professional athletes who are over the age of 18, so you can ask another POI if you want.
So how might this seeing their role models or their models indulge in such activities, might this not incentivize or even encourage the consumption of drugs? Because how are we going to provide a framework to say this is only for them and you might not do it? How do we block them from getting incentivized to consume drugs for entertainment?
Well, I think in the world today, most athletes know that other athletes are using performance-enhancing drugs. Like I said in my speech before, the problem is that drugs are getting more and more developed. So now there's a drug that's being used today that scientists and laboratories do not have the technology to even identify it until like 10 years or 20 years down the line. So I think athletes most have a common sense that athletes are already using performance-enhancing drugs. So I don't think it makes a huge difference. Because at the end of the day, a performance-enhancing drug is exactly what the word says, enhancing. You cannot just be a fat, lazy little kid and run a marathon by using performance-enhancing drugs. You still need that professional training. You still need to have an athletic body. You still need to have endurance. We're not saying that this is like a magic pill. We're saying it's an enhancing pill.
These sports are known to be very competitive, which means that people start training at such a young age to reach that high level of performance. So allowing performance drugs, enhancing performance drugs, will force these young people to that are definitely to use these drugs, which will definitely harm them.
So what's your POI? What's your question?
How do you think this is going to be negative to these little children, or like these young people who are going to feel that they should force themselves to take these enhancing drugs to reach that high level? So how do you think we can get around that, or why would we allow these drugs when we see that there's this negative effect towards young and
well,
children?
I think it just comes down to like being a professional athlete is like a life-changing moment in your life. So a lot of these people, they come from very poor communities. Like we see like who dominates the long distance races. It's mostly people from villages in Kenya. So for them, just winning the marathon once is a life-changing opportunity. And not only a life opportunity for them, but a life-changing opportunity for their family and their future children. So I think like you make a decision and you live with your decision, as I said before.
I have 2 points. The first one is you're talking too much
You only have one, but go ahead.
You're talking too much about entertainment. So if you want entertainment, you could go watch a circus or entertainment shows instead of watching real competitions where people compete. And you're talking that we should allow this because a lot of people cheat. Well, it's like let's remove traffic lights because a lot of people don't respect them instead of finding better ways. And I think that research will allow us to find better ways to detect those substances instead of completely allowing them.
I think that's like asking me like, okay, what is your favorite food? My favorite food is pizza. What is your favorite food? Your favorite food is hamburger. So it's like you're forcing me to eat a pizza when I really like hamburgers. So whatever people's preferences for entertainment, whether it's be a circus, whether it be boxing, we should have the choice. Because whether we change people's preferences, they're still going to be able to have both entertainments. I don't see why you can't enjoy a circus and enjoy a sporting event.
Can I have a
Sure.
neutral?
Okay, go ahead.
So what you're doing here is that you're giving the illusion of choice, but on your side of the house, there is no choice, because allowing these drugs would just mean that everybody who wants to pursue a passion would have to risk their health in the way. So saying that they have the choice to risk their health or not is a completely false assumption.
Okay, so I think that you're assuming that all athletes who use performance-enhancing drugs have some kind of consequence or some kind of health problems in the future. The perfect example of this is, like I just said in my speech, Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong has been using performance-enhancing drugs for 5 years. We don't see him crippled, we don't see him handicapped, we don't see him in a wheelchair, we don't see him having any issues with his body. So I think you're just assuming that all performance-enhancing drugs have a negative consequence, which they don't. Okay, go ahead. You two raise your hand.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So what I'm getting from your speech is that most athletes are already using performance-enhancing drugs,
Correct.
and yet viewership is already on the decline. So how would legalizing performance-enhancing drugs promote entertainment? As second of all, Lance Armstrong has to wake up every night because his heart rate gets so low from those performance-enhancing drugs that he could die.
Okay, so you asked like, first of all, you asked like 3 POIs and 1 POI, you only asked to ask 1, but I'll just answer all of them for the sake of entertainment. So the first one, so the first one, gosh, I forgot what it was already. Why would they use it if
The viewership is on the decline right now.
Okay. Okay, so first one, when I said that viewership is on the decline, I was only talking about the Olympics. We can see like professional sports like football, basketball, those are on the rise. So that's my response to that. What was your second POI?
No, it was just a comment about Lance Armstrong and your denial of his health concerns.
Okay,
In
well,
fact, he does.
Okay, so if that is the case, and I'm just assuming you're telling the truth, we can have a professional athlete who's not using performance-enhancing drugs and still have health problems. So what is the difference between Lance Armstrong, who did use performance-enhancing drugs, and an athlete who's 100% clean and still having health problems? There was a third POI, wasn't there?
Yeah.
No, that was no.
Okay.
This is all right.
You speak about pure entertainment, but you speak on and on about pure entertainment.
Yeah.
But you speak at the detriment of the universal negative impact of how a society will react in terms of morals and ethics that have been placed in terms of years. Why are we changing the ethics and morals now? You say it's not considered cheating, but it is previously. We're changing how our society perceives
Okay,
cheating.
thank you. So I'm saying why we should change it now is because we need to come to a reality. And that reality is that athletes are already using performance-enhancing drugs, and there's no way to detect it in today's technology. It's like having a new drug that you don't have the technology to detect until many years down the line. I think you guys really forget how performance-enhancing drugs and doping control officers are controlled. Most athletes who are caught cheating using by doping tests are usually ratted out by someone else. And that person, someone else that rats them out, is usually jealous or usually just couldn't achieve what they want to achieve. So I think like you're assuming that laboratories have all of this technology to catch performance-enhancing drug with today's technology. Like no, it takes like decades for them to catch them. This is why Lance Armstrong was not caught until like decades later.
Follow.
Yeah, go ahead.
But we understand that it has been previously done in secret. But however, don't you think that seriously normalizing it will have a serious impact because everybody will think it's normal? It's normal to cheat your way into. Even if it's normalized now, it will only encourage this misconception of how sports
I
should.
think we have a different definition difference of what you consider cheating. Because for me, cheating is like not studying for the exam and then just getting the answers on a little piece of paper and cheating on the exam. That's my definition of cheating. I think you consider cheating you're putting cheating and performance-enhancing drugs on the same level, which I don't think they deserve to be on the same level. Because like I said before, it's not like you can just take a fat kid who's never run a marathon before, give him a drug, and then the next day he's Lance Armstrong. You still need to have that potential training. You still need to have you just need to have the endurance. You can't just make someone a world-class athlete just by taking a magic pill.
I would like to point out to a contradiction you mentioned about Kenyan athletes. How would Kenyan athletes access PEDs? They're very expensive to uplift their economic situation.
Well, I think the way they would access them is their coaches. So their coaches have an incentive for them to win because you want to be that coach who you coach someone to win a gold medal. So I think their coaches who do have a more lucrative incentive to give them the drugs will be able to afford them.
But via what framework do you suggest to make sure that all viewers, more specifically underage individuals, understand that these drugs are performance enhancing and not performance changing?
I think it's just in its definition, performance enhancing, not performance changing.
But do you not understand how this can be somewhat problematic, especially to younger viewers who don't necessarily understand the media they're being exposed to, but watch it for entertainment? How are we going to ensure that they understand that such consumption is performance changing, performance enhancing, not performance changing?
I really don't get the POI. Like, how is it different between performance enhancing and performance changing?
Yeah. But how are we going to understand that younger viewers also can understand, can make that distinction?
I think it just comes through education.
That's the question. Is
Yeah.
what education?
So once we
Framework.
start allowing performance enhancing drugs, we're not just going to do it overnight. We'll have an educational program, which is something I would have said as the first speaker when I outlined the case. All right, go ahead, but we're going to have lunch in a few minutes. Go ahead. No, we have 3 minutes.
Okay, speaking of the definition of the specificity you brought about the word enhancer. PEDs actually can turn a fat inactive individual to a jacked lean specimen due to its effect on his hormonal situation and on his fat burner. So his activity or inactivity doesn't matter. It's about his genetics, which compose 90% of the mix.
Okay, so are you saying that someone who is fat and just starts taking the pills and sits down and watch video games every day is going to become a marathon professional running athlete after a while? Yeah, go ahead, you can answer.
The case I was talking about is in bodybuilding, in which injections, hormones like THT, testosterone, GH can mess up and can rebalance your hormonal profile and make your muscles appear, and technically speaking, you're a professional bodybuilder.
Okay, so I think we're breaking down performance enhancing drugs as like an easy trade-off to become a professional athlete. No, I still think you have to train, you have to have professional coaching, you have to have stamina, you have to have endurance, you even have to have the motivation to get out of bed and go train every day. So I think it's not like something that's just a magic pill, it's something that allows you to achieve a little bit of enhancement. So for example, let's say I'm a professional athlete, I can run the 100 meter race in like 9 seconds. If I take a performance enhancing drugs, I'm not gonna go from like 9 seconds to 2 seconds. I might go from like 9 seconds to like 8.8. It's not like making a huge difference in my back. Yes, that little 0.2 difference can help me go from like the silver medal to the gold medal, but it's not gonna like make a dramatic change. Like I'm not gonna become a Ferrari.